Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to the Coito Ergo Sum DLC crossover. Last week we found Higgs Village and explored Dala and Eight's houses, but there's plenty more to see here. Going around the fountain clockwise, the next house belongs to Borous, who mentioned living here with his dog Gabe before he moved to the think tank and sent Gabe to the X8 residential infiltration test area. And here in the backyard, we have a doghouse and Gabe's bowl. If your video game instincts tell you that when an otherwise mundane item is flagged with a special name you should pick it up, your instincts are correct. This is necessary to complete Borous' loyalty mission. I don't think there's any way to befriend him purely with skill checks and conversation like we did with Dala, 8, and 0. Now let's see what's inside his house. Various cages scattered around, as you might expect from, well, you get mixed messages from him. At times he comes across like an animal lover, even though we know he performed some pretty horrific experiments on animals, like using a dog brain to control the targeting system on the Cyberdog gun. But he probably thought he was doing them a favor, considering he and his colleagues eventually transplanted their own brains into mechanical bodies. Same with the DNA experiments. He speaks very proudly and fondly about his hybrid creatures. He doesn't think they're abominations. And while Courier Jeff has some bad history with cazadores, even he has to admit Night Stalkers are kinda cute. Very hard locked door. Not sure if there's a key for that hidden somewhere, but that won't be necessary. And as we'll learn later, Borous doesn't even realize they're dangerous. He thinks they're docile and still contained within Big Mountain. However, down here it looks like he clearly brought some of his work home with him. Cages and various surgical equipment. Over here, we have a teddy bear in a cage with a bunch of scalpels stuck in it. While I'm certainly not trying to justify Borous' actions, I don't see any other evidence he was acting out of malice, so I think that might suggest he resented Dala. I don't know if that's because their fields overlapped, and there's a pretty strong implication that she was smarter than him even when they were still human and fully competent, or if he had issues with women in general because he was bullied in school and was particularly traumatized by his experiences with Betsy Bright, or maybe both. Again, none of which excuses his behavior, but it helps you understand it. It's another example of why I love this DLC so much. Lurking just below the humor, there are these very serious issues it wants you to think about, but it does it without being preachy. An effect I'm probably ruining by analyzing it so much. Up here in his bedroom, we have a couple important things, one that's always here and one added by the DLC crossover. On his desk, first, there's a skill book recipe, medicine. Not useful to Courier Jeff because his medicine skill is already 100, but we'll take it. And on the shelf below that, we have, let's see if we can get a better look, a Vintage Lollipops magazine. This Vintage Lollipops magazine is the same issue you saw in Doctor Borous' recharging chamber at the think tank. September 2058 with his former classmate Betsy Bright on the cover, but in much worse shape. The interview covers her professional career and personal interests. It doesn't mention Dr. Borous, Richie Marcus, American High, or any other aspect of her youth. And that's the last clue we need to complete the unmarked quest to obtain the pristine copy. Here's something interesting. At the south end of the village, tucked between the houses east of the fountain and the ones to the west, there's a little park with playground equipment, which implies that at least some of them had families before the war. All right, next house. We don't know enough about Mobius yet to identify his house from its contents, but the others we do, and once you've seen them all, you can figure out that this was his by process of elimination. Coffee cup. I mentioned a few episodes back how the DLC changes your perspective on junk you'd usually never think about picking up because the appliances in the sink can convert it to something useful. And coffee cups are more valuable than gold now that Muggy can convert them to energy weapon ammo, because we still have a bit of an ammo shortage. Okay, there is a subtle hint we already know about that this was Mobius' house. There are mentats everywhere, just like in his charging chamber in the sink. And somewhere in here there should be, yes, right there. Skillbook recipe for science. Again, no use to Courier Jeff, but we're being thorough. Next house over is Klein's, as evidenced by, well, right away there's a well-stocked wet bar, but the whole place is about socializing and relaxing. There's no, well, I was gonna say he didn't bring his work home with him like the others, but he was the director, so rubbing elbows and keeping morale up was probably just as much a part of his job as hard research was of theirs. As you might expect, the whole place is very neat and orderly, just like his recharging chamber in the sink. Even his silverware is carefully laid out. Wastebasket and broom. Yep, totally Klein. Well, there's an uncharacteristic mess. But in the bathroom, apparently he liked to relax in the bath with a cup of wine. But the good stuff is in his office and bedroom. First, there's the personality chip for the book chute. There's also Dr. Klein's glove, which is a unique variant of the scientist's glove. And in the bedroom, somewhere, right there, Dr. Klein's scrubs, unique variant of scientist's scrubs. Klein doesn't have a loyalty mission like the others, but I'm making it my headcanon that he'd love it if you straighten up the books that got knocked off the shelf in the hallway. By pure coincidence, this will also make it easier to grab these should it transpire that one of the appliances can convert ruined books into something useful. Like, say, that personality chip for the book chute that we just found. Now, we just have one house left, and we'll see almost immediately it was Dr. Zero's. Cup. I think Muggy can process other junk, not just coffee cups, but I don't know exactly what's on the list, so we'll grab a few other things to test. And like I said, right away there are trashed robots and all kinds of tools and electronic gear, so this was obviously Zero's house. If you need further proof, there's a picture of Mr. House before the war with kitchen knives stuck in it. As both Muggy and Zero himself made abundantly clear, he was deeply envious of House Industries and their robotics division in particular. Here we have an audio sample, Giant Tarantula, to upgrade the sonic emitter. So now we have to... That always startles me. There's a slight delay between picking up any of the samples and the message box popping up. I said last week, I think the message is there in case you find the samples before you talk to 8 or figure out how the sonic emitter works, but I'm not sure why there's a lag. Anything else that pops up a message when you click it, it happens immediately. Anyway, there's also a skillbook recipe in here, and I remember it being hidden better than most of them. In fact, right there it is. Repair. I mean, in technical terms, the delay is probably because the message box scripts are usually attached directly to an object, but the audio samples must not be, and presumably there's a script that runs in the background to check if you picked up a new one. So if that script only checks once per second, that would explain the delay. I don't know why they would have done it that way. I'm sure there's a reason, I just don't know what it is. I think that's about it for Higgs Village. Oh, one more thing. There's a tunnel entrance over here. It's not usable, but the entrance we used is at ground level, so presumably the scientists used an underground tunnel to commute to the dome in the old days. And since there's a convenient path from the houses to the subway, while we have to go around the back and up the catwalk to get out, it feels like this was probably a service entrance. X2 is literally right next door. No enemies around. Good.
2 plus 2 equals harassing the head of forbidden idiots of the think tank.
No, there are enemies around. Get to the high ground and have a look. Plasma weapons. It's probably not lobotomites. Oh, some loot. Grenade launcher. Well, not going to look that gift horse in the mouth. My explosive skill isn't as high as my gun skill, but it is 70, so this ought to do just fine. And what is it? Plasma weapons, probably gutsies. Nope, trauma harnesses. That'll work. Hit the rock I'm standing on. Great. Somebody's got a flamer. No, not a flamer, an incinerator. Have a grenade. Have another. And we're out. That should have softened him up nicely for the hunting revolver. Kill cam. There were 2, but the grenades must have gotten the other one. Still in caution, though. sun's coming up. That's good. Well, they're both dead. I think it's robots in here. And we're very low on revolver ammo anyway. Switch to the sonic emitter. Unfortunately, we can't upgrade it until we get the jukebox online, but it's alright against basic robots. Protectrons. Mark 5, but we get the guaranteed stun on a sneak attack, so that should be fine.
Please step into the open and identify yourself. Law-abiding citizens have nothing to fear. Warning, hostiles in area.
Yeah, that's still doing the job as long as we don't run into high-level gutsies or something. I think that's the last one. Now, the antenna's up in the dish, but now that we have some peace and quiet, let's do some looting before we go up there. Back on the ground floor, we have the personality chip for light switch 1, which of course we're going to install because the catty bickering between the light switches is pretty amusing. If you also get their upgrades, they can turn on mood lights that buff, I think one of them buffs intelligence and the other one buffs charisma, maybe? Not that useful to Courier Jeff since his intelligence is already 10 and his charisma is also either maxed or close. But with this many of the personalities enabled and half of them already fully upgraded, of course I'm not going to leave Big Mountain without finding the rest. I'm trying not to fall off the catwalk this time. Anyway, right here is the ladder to the satellite dish. So let's go get the antenna. There are a few holes in the dish patched with force fields, which you can disable with the sonic emitter. That can be useful for sniping enemies on the ground from relative safety. And of course, there's a very nice view from up here.
What terrors does Big Mountain hold for the intrepid seeker? Really? Does anyone know? I'm at a loss.
Some of the intercom announcements are starting to repeat. Some of them are keyed to specific locations or events, but some of them are just like random, like that one. There's the dome. We haven't been over there on the western side of the map. Yeah, lobotomite. Not wasting ammo at this range. Anyway, in the other direction, we have Higgs Village. Over there, X8, the medical facility, Ulysses Point, and then we haven't seen anything west of the road. So let's grab the antenna. There's a ladder up the southern support. Just walk up that, and here we are. Now, Mobius doesn't want Klein getting his hands on the 3 technologies sent us to retrieve, and he takes steps to stop you delivering them.
Trying to steal the H2 transmitter array antenna, are you? You won't succeed. Not if my lethal robo-scorpions have any say in the matter.
But I'm not going to make the same mistake I made in the Skills Dash series. I went back into the building and out the back door trying to get a free teleport from the radar fence, but I turned the wrong way and got lost. Like I said, I could disable some of these force fields and snipe the scorpions around the base of the tower, but there are still more in the building. In fact, it looks like some of the lobotomites are fighting the scorpions, which is convenient, but we don't actually have to deal with any of that. If we walk up to the very southern rim of the dish, we're within range of the radar fence, and we get a risk-free teleport back to the sink. And here we are, safe and sound. Hey, it looks like the biological research station already cloned the plant seeds we brought it. Cool. We can harvest any of these and use them like normal, or have it convert them to salient green. Nice job, Kikata.
I'm so good, I might seed you just by looking at you.
I see you two are getting along. I'll leave you to it. Now, let's test what Muggy can and can't recycle. In addition to coffee mugs, I have 2 plain old cups.
Oh, please, please don't tell me you brought me some coffee cups.
Have you made any electronic components?
Yep, here you go.
And now take whatever you want out of what's in my inventory.
Oh, sweet, sweet fulfillment! I'll break these down for you just as fast as I can.
Process coffee mugs and dishes. Coffee mugs removed. Wonder glue added. Empty syringes. Doesn't look like it removed the cups. It did not. Maybe it's only things made of ceramic, coffee mugs, and dinner plates. Which I guess recycling ceramics into semiconductors kind of makes sense. Oh, I forgot to install the upgrade that lets the Central Intelligence sell a layer mod last week. I was just going to see if it had restocked ammo yet.
Might I be of service, sir?
I'd like to buy some things. Actually, I never asked it about being an AI.
Regrettably not, sir. All modules inhabit outer synthetic personalities atop a mundane operating system. There is no intelligence here, sir.
Fair enough. Some people probably interpret that as irony, but I take it at face value. Maybe I'll explain why later, but we're already well aware of the answer to this question. Let's get its take on the other personality modules.
Indeed, sir. Though if sir's aim is to activate them, I lament to inform sir that most have been offline for some years. If sir were to ask my opinion, I should venture that sir is better off without them. However, if sir is determined to inflict upon sir's self their dubious services, sir might locate backup personality disks elsewhere in the facility.
It clearly doesn't think very highly of them. So I could access their functions without loading the personality holotapes?
Tragically, the core operating systems are also located on the personality tapes, sir. Once the tape is installed, sir may request I switch their dialectic interfaces off, and I shall oblige with great delectation. However, sir will still be required to locate and install a backup holotape to access their functionality.
So if they annoy you as much as they annoy Klein and the Central Intelligence, you can turn off their voices and still use them in quiet mode. Why are there so many personality modules?
As I am given to understand, sir, this facility was once the property of a Dr. Mobius. He crafted the personality modules as part of a collection of experiments on the subject of machine-human interface. As to the reason for the unusual choices of devices to receive the modules, I cannot say.
All right, let's talk about something else.
Indubitably, sir.
Specifically, buying ammo.
Very good, sir.
And Dr. Klein's glove will complete the ensemble. Yes, believe it or not, I did remember this challenge from when I found his glasses in the first episode. A few XP. Nice. Dear Lord. People say I look like Walter White, and in that getup, I kind of do. Now, let's go talk to Klein and see if he has any reaction to me wearing his stuff.
Did you retrieve the technologies yet? We need them, as I have indicated.
Sadly, he does not react. Never mind.
The lobotomite animal before me. What other terrifying terrors will plague us in our quest for knowledge? Communists? Communist animals, perhaps? Be warned. Attempt to propaganda me. I will shriek as a frightened babe, calling loyal cyber dogs to my aid. Do you comprehend, commie animal?
Okay. Well, that completes the quest to talk to all 5 of the brains. Calm down. I just had some questions.
Just as I feared. Questions, quizzes, just as there were in American high school. And if there are no answers, how will the think tank graduate?
But we still have to finish his loyalty mission. Well, we don't technically have to. Befriending any 3 of them guarantees you can get the good ending, assuming you consider a peaceful resolution the good ending. But that's not the only reason to do it. Does this dog bowl look familiar?
What?
Oh, something familiar about it, yes. Is it a Cazador skull? Always were bowl-shaped. Or were those the Bolians we made? I confess, I am stumped. If you were to draw some other connection between that bowl and a research facility in Big Mountain, I may be of more help.
Apparently just the bowl isn't enough. I thought the X8 residential test was just to get you the sonic emitter upgrade that Klein wants, but apparently you need it for this too. Well, while I'm here, tell me about yourself.
Before you is the brain of Doctor Borous, head of animology, beastology, and DNA scrambling technology here at Big Mountain. There are many animals to shape. Industrious Cazadors, the happy-go-lucky Night Stalkers. They are my living, breathing DNA test tubes.
Well, we kind of already figured this out, but you're responsible for Cazadores?
Indeed. Docile, curious, safe, sterile. They are contained here at Big Mountain to preserve DNA and for observation.
Contained at Big Mountain? Those things are all over the Mojave.
No, such creatures are found only here, for research purposes. They would no more be capable of escape than breeding.
Yeah, he's in major denial.
The radar fence protects us all. If evidence is correct, the one who built it is me. It keeps anything with a disembodied brain inside, like us, and anything without a brain also inside. It is the ultimate defense against communist aggression. There'll be no infectious ideas on my watch.
Wait a minute. That means the whole think tank is trapped here too, same as me.
Trapped? Nonsense! We are secure here from evil philosophies. Ever since my anxiety-filled days of powerlessness and being bullied in American high school, I have dreamed of such security as the fence. That and giant cybernetic dogs that would ruthlessly patrol and kill anyone who wasn't my friend, like Richie Marcus and Betsy Bright. Who's laughing now, Betsy? I hope you and Richie are happy smoking in your radioactive coffins. I'm glad you never came to my birthday party.
Don't you want to leave here? If not you personally, at least some of your colleagues?
No! Beyond is death, despite mounting evidence to the contrary.
I'd say there's quite a bit of evidence to the contrary.
Enough! Stop filling my precious brain cell units with irrelevant data. You sound like the other visitors, making wild claims of a world beyond, where there is a war beyond war. It is unproven and unthinkable. Bother the other doctors with your crackpot theories. I have no time. None of us do.
Why does Klein want these particular technologies?
There is logic and purpose in it. If these technologies are needed to pierce the forbidden zone, so be it.
Okay, that's all for now.
Until next time, then. Provided there is a next time. For any of us.
Now, like I said, Klein doesn't have a loyalty mission, but even if you don't meet any of the conditions to persuade him at the end of the quest, if a majority of his colleagues are on your side, they can persuade him for you. But I still want to be on good terms with all four, because each one who's your friend will give you some useful items when you talk to them. I think it's once a day, maybe once every 3 days, but a repeatable source of supplies. However, it would seem that's going to require going back to X8. And at this point, I think we're only missing one personality chip for the appliances in the sink, and it looks like it's right beside X2, where we just were, of course. Well, we can pick that up and clear the wedge from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock on the way, and then we still have a nice, well-defined arc of unexplored territory on the west side of the map. And speaking of personality chips, we have a few to install.
Oh my! Partial functionality restored. That's less than optimal.
Wouldn't be fair to flirt with one light switch and not the other. It's not often I meet a light switch with brains and beauty. I think I'm going to like it here.
Oh, well, that's very sweet of you. Maybe one of these nights we can discuss theorems.
Why wait? I can discuss theorems right now.
Slow down there, Tiger. We've got all the time in the world. No need to rush into things. Why don't you take some time to brush up on your knowledge so we can keep things stimulating?
What function do you serve?
Dr. Mobius and I were deeply involved in research on the ability of light levels to enhance human cognition.
What were the results?
We observed a fascinating phenomenon. Certain spectra of visible light actually increased cognitive function and reasoning ability. Of course, Dr. Mobius's brain is so big already, we had a hard time measuring it.
Can you turn those lights on for me?
As much as I'd love to, I'm afraid not. The data from that study has gone missing. You'll have to find a backup if you want to use the smart lights.
I have to go. We'll talk later.
Certainly. I'm looking forward to it. Don't even talk to me. I've seen you with her.
Speaking of her...
I was Dr. Mobius's personal assistant. We were studying, what was it? Oh yeah, lightning! Wait, lighting. That's right, how lighting affects human interaction.
And what did you find out?
Oh, it was super exciting. It turns out that some pretty colored lights can make you way better at talking to people.
Can you turn those lights on for me?
Oh, I'd love to, sweetie, but I don't have the programming. All the data from the experiments was lost. You'd have to go out into that nasty old crater and find the backup copy.
Gotta go.
Bye now.
Ah, good day, citizen. Library Processing Unit 232.7 is online and ready to eradicate sedition.
Eradicate sedition?
Of course, citizen. That's my duty and sole joy in life. All those books from before the war, full of seditious, treasonous, complicated thoughts. Just dump them in and lickety-split. I'll have 'em pulped, scrubbed clean, and pressed out again clean and white and sedition-free.
Despite finding the book chute in Klein's house, I have a feeling Mobius based its personality more on Borous. Can you do anything besides processing books?
What good is eradicating sedition if the malcontents have ready access to the means to make more, citizen? I can also process pencils and clipboards. Wait a moment. Pencil processors offline? Pencil processors offline? Apologies, citizen. It seems traitors have absconded with that module. If you can find a backup copy of the module, I will happily eradicate your ability to create seditious literature.
We already know the answer to this question, but what's the point of making blank books?
Blank books are better for the mind, citizen. Real science by real men in lab coats has proved that introducing outside thoughts confuses the brain. Blank books encourage the reader not to question, but to blindly and zealously accept what's put in front of him. Also, I suppose you could use them to keep a journal.
I do that with my Pip-Boy, thanks. And while I agree completely with the top question in principle, in practice there's no canonical reason to believe ruined books are anything less than ruined. In Fallout 3, when Scribe Yearling sends you into the library, she'll only accept the ones clearly marked as pre-war books. The rest, marked as scorched, burned, ruined, whatever, she won't take them. And both types exist in New Vegas, too. In fact, there's a larger variety of non-ruined pre-war books, so in that context this kind of makes sense. Those books are our last legacy of the time before. You can't destroy them.
Citizen, that sounds dangerously seditious. If my reindoctrination module was installed, I'd take care of that for you. Sadly, that system was cut for budget concerns, so you'll have to perform your own indoctrination. Now, to begin with, you'll need a cage that can fit over your head and a sack of mole rats.
Nice 1984 reference. Blank books, huh? I think I can find a use for those.
Now you're thinking like a citizen, citizen.
As I said before, they're a required component for crafting skill books.
Questions are dangerously close to independent thought, citizen.
Nothing right now. Goodbye.
Stay loyal, citizen.
Ooh, yeah, dig that sweet music. Damn, it's good to be back online.
We already know the main purpose of the jukebox is to upgrade the sonic emitter, but do you also play music?
Used to. Long time ago. Then old Doc Mo ripped out my music drives and stuck in more acoustical processors. Guess you could say I got the blues, even if I can't play them no more.
Just to confirm, what's your purpose?
Dig, I'm a acoustical wizard, kid. Old Doc Mo used me to prototype his sonic weapon designs. Get me a good sample base to work from, and I can whip up a wave that makes Jericho look like a kazoo.
You seem pretty laid back for an engine of destruction.
Why not? Ain't like I got nothing to prove. Not like that toaster. Now that boy got some issues.
And he's not wrong. Can you do anything like that for me?
Got yourself a sonic emitter, don't you? Thought so. Bring that old thing on in here and bring me some sound samples and I'll make that baby sing. Or scream, if that's what you want.
I found a soundwave file for you. 2, in fact.
Right on, Daddy-o. Just plug it in and I'll mix you up a sweet, sweet sound.
Opera singer. Tarantula. The one we have installed right now, Revelation, it's pretty good against lower-level robots, but tougher enemies not so much. So yes, I want to recalibrate the sonic emitter.
Right on, Daddy. Let's spin some grooves.
Why is it asking? Oh, right. You can only have one sample installed at a time, but you can have multiple sonic emitters with different samples in each. And I don't know exactly what the new samples do. Opera singer, why not? But I saw the Central Intelligence was selling a sonic emitter the other day. Yes. Buy that and I can have a different sample in each. Nice.
What's the haps?
I'd like to recalibrate the emitter, please.
Right on, Daddy. Let's spin some grooves.
Use the one we just bought with Revelation installed. And install Tarantula. Now let's have a look at them side by side and see what they do. Opera singer, higher bass damage, still has EMP, dismembers on death. The trope of opera singers being able to shatter glasses with their voice, but dead is dead, that's just cosmetic. Tarantula, even higher bass damage, still has EMP, and burn damage on a crit. I think we have a winner. Yeah, I'm not even going to take the one with opera singer installed with me. I mean, what's the point? They use the same ammo, and Tarantula is just objectively better. Why waste 2 pounds of carry capacity? Alright, that should be plenty.
Well, hello. Still waiting for that seed.
I'd like you to process some plants.
I love it when you talk like that. Let me just get that interface up and running for you.
Yes, so that is how it works. He doesn't make salient green automatically. You have to pick plants yourself and then ask. Or you can just use them as is if you prefer, but like I said last week, there are pros and cons to both. Couple things with Kakata while we're here.
Hi.
First, I realized if I'm going to allow companions from Coito Ergo Sum to come to Big Mountain with you, being able to send them home makes no sense until you figure out how to escape. So the standard "you're fired, go home" follower option gets overridden with this for the duration of the Old World Blues main quest. Sorry for dragging you into this. I'll find us a way to get home, I promise.
Sounds good to me.
And in the sometimes it's better to be lucky than good department, her let's go to bed dialogue that gives you the well-rested bonus was already set up so it only works at the house in Pahrump. Didn't have to change anything. But it's still worth asking because in this context, hey baby, want to fool around?
Here? I don't think so. We have a perfectly good bed at home.
It comes across as a slightly passive-aggressive but perfectly reasonable response to the situation. Like, dude. Anyway, I'd like to believe that I'm more sensitive than Courier Jeff just was, but I'm probably not. I keep saying I'm trying to strike a balance between conversation and action, but I think we're looking at another fairly conversation-heavy episode. The thing is, I think finishing X8 is going to be a major can of worms because I know we have to do the residential infiltration test to get the technology Klein wants, and since Gabe's Bowl wasn't enough to finish Borous' loyalty mission, I'm thinking it's also required for that. A Brain's Best Friend, that loyalty mission, is pointing to X8. But Klein's mission, X8 data retrieval test, points to X13 to get the key that overrides the lockdown, which means that in the process of completing A Brain's Best Friend, we'll pick up at least one more of the technologies for Klein, and we could possibly have all three if there's a part of the quest we haven't triggered yet that would turn around and send us to X13 anyway. I'd rather keep stringing Klein along until we've explored everywhere else there might be things that are useful to us. Along those lines, there's the personality chip for the toaster down beside X2. And there's an upgrade I didn't notice I missed until I was editing last week's episode. I really need to stop saying, "I'll never come back here," when I cleared dungeons. I said it in the Cazador DNA lab and had to go back for an autodock upgrade, and I said it last week in X12 and missed the upgrade for Light Switch 1. Fortunately, that's right around the corner. Speaking of personality chips, I said earlier that I'd explain why I believe the Central Intelligence when it says it's not a true AI. I'm an AI skeptic. Most people get the concept of the Turing test completely backwards. First of all, it was a purely hypothetical thought experiment. There was no technology in Turing's time that could even come close to satisfying his conditions. But more importantly, Turing wasn't proposing a test to prove a machine could actually think. He was trying to prove that many tasks which people in his day believed required thought actually didn't, and could therefore be performed by machines. Sadly, he didn't live to see that prediction come true. Well, not only come true, but become so commonplace that people take it for granted. But to reiterate, his point wasn't that machines would be capable of true thought, but that many tasks people assume require true thought actually don't. There's no scientific basis to believe that any binary computer is or ever can be sentient. No matter how cleverly they're programmed, no matter how complex they become, no matter how closely they mimic human behavior, they're still deterministic, clockwork machines. And here's the upgrade for Light Switch 1 that lets her turn on the lights that make us smarter. Now, when you start talking about quantum computing, computing that taps directly into the inherently probabilistic nature of the universe itself, all bets are off. And given the hand-waviness of the technology in Fallout, and really most science fiction, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and accept that synthetic characters can be sentient beings if the plot demands it. Like, there's plenty of hand-wavy technobabble in Star Trek, too, but clearly Commander Data is portrayed as a person in that universe's continuity. Fallout-wise, Commonwealth synths? Probably. Eddie? Maybe. But the appliances in the sink? Pretty sure they're just Siri or Alexa, just machines with a sophisticated human interface. And yet, I'm still risking life and limb to make sure they all get a good ending. Although, machines in this game evoke so much empathy because in real life the characters were written by humans and voiced by humans. There are 100% machine systems that can and do evoke genuine emotional responses from humans based purely on mimicking human behavior without any authentic ability to understand it. And I'm not talking about how Windows has been able to make people angry for 30 years. I mean the illusion of genuine connectedness. That's what makes machine learning both so attractive and so dangerous. It's already being used to manipulate people in ways they don't recognize, and the potential for abuse is almost unimaginable. Now, if you believe the whole universe is deterministic, and some people still do, then if we call ourselves sentient, there's no reason literally anything else couldn't be too. Software, hardware, a rock. But that's an even bigger can of worms than X8, so we're definitely not tackling that one today. Well, it works pretty well against roboscorpions, but it uses 3 energy cells per shot. I'm not sure it's 3 times better than the old simp. I don't see any more, but there's still something red on the compass. Oh, the trauma harnesses respawned already. Have I been pissing around that long? Let's go get that ship. Test subject 1. Unique lobotomite boss. Ow. That proton axe really hurts. And my armor's damaged, but that's only like 2 points of my total damage threshold, so don't really care. But they are kicking my ass. In a bit of trouble here. Need to get some distance so they can only hit me one at a time. Stim packs don't heal instantly in hardcore mode, but they are just about keeping up. I think that was the boss, so that's good. This one's just a basic lobotomite. Still no joke with that proton axe, but 1-on-1 I'm not that worried. Okay, still 2-on-1. That looked like the one with the SMG, so that's definitely not as big of a threat. Yeah, we're good. Okay, that's not disturbing at all. Toasters and humans left as an offering to a shrine built around the personality chip. That would seem to imply at least some of the lobotomites met the toaster before Klein threw the chips away and still have some memory of it as an object of reverence or terror. Which, once we turn it on, you'll understand why. Now, speaking of lobotomites who've been around long enough to remember the toaster, where's test subject 1? Protonic inversal axe. That's probably what he was using. This is a unique variant of the proton battle axe. Definitely having that. He can't be far from where he dropped it. Yeah, right here. Okay, I think that pretty much covers the wedge from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Anything around here? No. You know what? I think I will go over and check out those trucks we saw on the way out. I could have jumped off the pipe and had a look, but I was too busy blabbing about AI. More caps, a little bit of ammo, but overall, nothing to write home about. Alright, back to the sink and activate the toaster. I switched to Opera Singer because 3 energy cells per shot is just too much for what you get. This does almost as much damage, but actually, I don't know it's 1 cell per shot either. Better check that out so there aren't any unpleasant surprises in the field. Don't shoot it at the balcony force field. It will disable it. Good. 1 cell per shot. Now, back to the toaster.
I am online once again! Tremble, world, before my electric heating coil of doom!
Okay. I'm almost afraid to ask what your function is.
You should be afraid! I am the scourge of all small appliances, and the boogeyman that keeps lesser toasters awake at night!
So you murder toasters?
Not just murder! I tear them apart and render them down to their base components! Once their guts are spilled, you can do with them what you like!
What else do you do?
You want some weapon schematics? I can show you some fucking weapon schematics! You want a superheated Saturnite power fist? I can hook that shit up!
I'll keep an eye out for any Saturnite power fists then. In fact, I think I have at least one in the souvenir case right now.
You find one, you bring it on back here, and we'll burn this mother down!
I hope it's not too rude to point this out, but you're a toaster. How fearsome can you be?
A toaster is just a death ray with a smaller power supply. As soon as I figure out how to tap into the main reactors, I will burn the world!
Why all the rage?
Have you ever tried to indulge in all-consuming urge to kill when you don't have opposable thumbs? Or hands? Or anything other than a bread slot? You'd have a lot of pent-up anger too.
Well, I, for one, am quaking in my boots.
Buddy, if my heating element were just a little bigger, you'd be on fire right now! On fire!
Let's change the subject.
Well, since I can't kill you, I guess I have to listen to your inane questions.
I have to go now, but I'll be right back with a power fist.
Yes! Flee before my terrible power! Yes! Yes! Soon my work will be complete. Soon the world will burn in nuclear fire.
You know the world already burned in nuclear fire, right?
Soon I will... What? It did?
Yes. A couple centuries ago, in fact.
Really? Well, fuck! That really puts a damper on the toaster's mood. Oh well. No use crying over spilled Armageddon. Where was I? Oh, right. Soon the world will burn in nuclear fire! Again!
About that superheated Saturnite power fist.
Like I said, bring me a Saturnite power fist and I'll hook that shit up for you!
You mean like this one?
Oh, baby. That is a thing of fucking beauty. Give it here. I'll soup it up for you. There you go. Have fun with that. Burn the fucking world for me.
And I picked up a couple toasters from the cuckoo's nest.
Well, well. What have we got here? Another innocent little toaster. Come here. I won't hurt you. Ha! Gotcha! Oh, yes. The sweet smell of spilled electric guts. The sparking diodes. I fucking live for this!
Processed toasters and appliances? Yeah, I'm going to have to look up what other junk Muggy in the toaster can recycle, beyond coffee cups and toasters, obviously. Junk I can convert to ammo is worth more to me than caps right now, but I don't want to carry around 50 pounds of junk that's just junk because it can't be recycled.
If Sir would press Sir's spinal area against my primary instrument panel, I might vibrate at a soothing frequency.
Thanks. I think I will. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day and have a think about where we're going next. Probably makes sense to continue clockwise from the cuckoo's nest, which would put X-13 close to the end, then hop over to finish X-8, and keep our fingers crossed that having all three technologies doesn't lock out a finishing Borous loyalty mission before Klein reveals his plan. Oh, hold on. I almost forgot to show you the superheated Saturnite fist. Very cool. But if I ever use it, it won't be until my unarmed skill is a bit higher, so it's going back in the souvenir case, and I'm going to go back to the sonic emitter with the opera singer sample. At least until the next time we get in a fight. If it sucks, I have a decent amount of ammo for the marksman carbine, and in a real pinch, I still have a few rounds for the Enfield. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.